everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Koki Otaku. Today with us, we have a very special guest. In this podcast, we do have a mission to look for that Puerto Rican talent, because our mission is to incentivize the anime culture in Puerto Rico specifically, but we've diversified. With that said, this talent is also one that not only acts behind the camera, but also in camera, like Hollywood. That's what I'm saying. And when I say Hollywood, I mean like Guardians of the Galaxy, Marvel Universe, Hollywood. All right. So she has voiced Honnyan in the Apothecary Diaries. She has also voiced Eris Mc Clain in The Fruit of Evolution. Before I knew it, my life had it made. Also, Jill Sturgeon in Metalic Rouge, which is currently airing. And when I said Guardians of the Galaxy, I mean Orloni Peddler in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. So, without any further ado, because the list keeps on going and we have a lot to talk about, please give it up for Giovannie Cruz. Giovannie, thank you so much for joining us today.
Me. Yeah. Today, right? It should be tonight. Today.
It's kind of funny. Kira mentioned that introduction, how we started the podcast. I always say this video podcast was an accident. We should start like with school with Puerto Rico, and then we realized, oh wait, Puerto Rico is bilingual. We speak English and Spanish. And by accident, we expand across the whole North America and Central America.
Yeah.
And now we're like, oh, so now we're like bilingual video podcast. So
love that.
And today, which kind of funny, Giovannie is also bilingual, speaking Spanish and English. But we're going to that very soon. Let's start with one of the latest anime going on in the Crunchyroll list. One of the biggest success, starting in the lineup of fall 2023, and still going on in the winter 2024. Crunchyroll talking about the Apothecary. Can help me there? Apothecary
Diaries. Yeah. Yeah.
It has been months. I cannot pronounce the
Yeah. Yeah.
I gave up
all the time, like a snake.
Yeah.
It has been months. I don't know why. It's something wrong in me. Every time, hey, Kiara, let's see Apothecary Diaries. And she's like, and I'm like, yeah,
that's the best you've pronounced it, so I'll take it.
But like the thing with anime, and I was just talking with one of the directors yesterday, is it really is helpful if you're an anime voice actor to speak multiple languages, because a lot of the words we're using are Japanese. A lot of the names, like for instance, Apothecary Diaries, they're Chinese, right? So we have to like learn the Chinese pronunciation. Mm-hmm. So there's like a whole list, and there's a whole list of Chinese names, and they want us to say it like the Chinese do, and so we have to be like, I'm Honnyan. Right,
okay.
Not Honnyan or whatever, Honnyan. And then, so the other characters, I say their names a lot. I have to say it like, so it helps to like be able to move your mouth in ways that are more than just the one way, like English or Spanish or something like this. It helps to speak multiple languages because it forces you to move your mouth in all these different ways,
That is so cool. I never thought about that. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So speaking of Apothecary Diaries, your character, I can't.
Oh yeah.
I'll try.
Okay.
Before we describe it, how would you describe the Apothecary Diaries? It's actually the first time we've been talking. We're talking here in this podcast about this anime, which Onyx and I love so much. And for those of you watching, if you haven't given yourself the chance to watch it, like, I don't know what you're waiting for, go do it. It's hilarious. There's drama, there's everything you can think of. It's so good. But you know what, Giovannie, like, how would you describe it?
Oh Lord, don't ask me that question. So
I can help you there.
Yeah. So the main character is this girl that gets like sold into it was a different culture at the time, right? So she gets sold into servitude in this like castle, and she ends up working for this princess. And my character is the princess's like second in command, like housekeeper,
like servant.
Yeah. But like I'm the servant over all the other servants, right? There's a hierarchy. And it's based on like Chinese, like a Chinese shogun, I want to say, or not a shogun, that's Japanese, a Chinese empire. I forget which one, but it's kind of based on like the sort of like historical fiction aspect of like this Chinese empire. And so yeah, my character's the servant over all the servants, and when she comes in as my like underling, but you know, as I won't ruin it for anybody, but as the story goes on, we realize she's a lot more than she seems, and she has a lot more experience and a lot more, right? Like she's a lot more interesting than it seems, and her background's really interesting, and she kind of, as the episodes kind of progress, becomes a very important character in this empire. So, and yeah, much to my character's embarrassment or whatever, right?
Drop the spoils. Don't worry about the spoilers.
No, I don't want to spoil. Because, you know, to me, the beautiful thing about anime is, like, it's getting people interested in the show. And it's like any TV show. It's like you want to get people hooked and interested in it. But you don't want to give all the secrets away because they're just so much fun to find.
But I feel like today's day, there's a lot of people out there that they enjoy spoilers. And I've seen it in online, in real person. They're like, no, tell me the spoilers. I will not see the series. And I'm like, oh, okay.
But see that's why I don't drop spoilers, because you gotta watch the show.
Definitely.
You gotta watch the show. Okay.
Yeah.
You know, I'll never watch it. Well, all right. Too bad for you. It's a really good show.
He fell again.
I fall in and I can't get up.
I know. I'm on a tablet because I just bought a new computer, and ahora no te veo. And I'm on a tablet because I just bought a new computer, but I haven't set it up yet. So I'm like, this is like the worst time to do this.
No, but the word. Going back to
Apothecary Diaries.
Jesus, that's going to be so hard, Julie. Like Kera said, one of my favorite series so far from the lineup on winter, fall 2023 and winter 2024. And you have a very, I would say, pedigree of voice actor.
Yeah, the lead is Emmy Lowe, and she's so freaking good. Emmy is so good. So Emmy is, I want to say, she's Asian, but I think she is Chinese. I might be mistaken there. Forgive me, Emmy, if you ever watch this. But she is one of my favorite voice actors because she's just so subtle and so like smart. We also did an anime called oh god, I just forgot the name. Mashima together, and she played Delmine in that. And I just love listening to her. She has such a great voice, such a great talent. She's a lot of fun. She gets that subtle comedy really well. So yeah, great cast. And it's directed by Sean Gann, who's a phenomenal person. And a lot of the reason why I think you were asking the question earlier about more diversity in American or English anime dub is because of people like Caitlin, what's Caitlin's last name? I'm really bad at Caitlin Glass and Sean Gann are really pushing to diversify anime. It's a part of their platform. So a lot of times these people, and Mike McFarlane's another one, where they really want to see people of color doing this voice acting. And so if it wasn't for Sean and Caitlin and Mike and a few others, like, you wouldn't have as many Latino talent or Asian, Filipino talent, things like this in some of these shows.
And that's very interesting.
Barriers, definitely. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it is a challenging series because for those who haven't watched it, we're talking about, like Giovanni mentioned, background story, Chinese, which is kind of odd in anime world. Anime industry for me is evolving so fast, and people, I always say in the conventions, the first challenge we always have is defining what anime is, because 15-20 years ago you were good just saying anime is just cartoon from Japan. Today's day, with all the progress in technology and commercial, anime is no longer only Japanese.
No.
And now this is one of the cases where the story, even that is produced on Japan, is based on
Chinese
China.
Yeah.
And they're respecting those cultural aspects.
Right. Yeah. Well, yeah, because historically, the Japanese and the Chinese don't get along, but I do think that they're doing a good job of being respectful of the Chinese culture in this and really honoring the story. But yeah, I was just talking yesterday with Mike McFarlane about how it used to be, 20 years ago, we had like two anime. We had Dragon Ball Z, and everybody was like into Dragon Ball Z, or you had Pokemon. And those were like the two, and yeah, One Piece existed and one, but those were like the two that I think really got people into watching anime. And now you have all these like subgenres in anime where the anime could be a drama, it could be like really gory, it could be really like, and there's all these different varieties of anime. They're not just these goofy shows with all these goofy people and goofy animals anymore, right? It's just like, it can be anything now.
And in my opinion, it is a series that's really challenging the voice actors. Because, for example, Keiji Kan, being the male lead in this as a voice actor, the role of Inchi, usually Kanji is on the action, video game, and suddenly he's like a sweet and love male position. Same with Amy Love playing a low key voice actor.
Right,
and
right.
Your and also all the rest are being challenged in different cultures. So as a voice actor in this anime, which is one of the top trends right now, different approach. Do you feel that cultural challenge having a different, like, we're not based on Japan background, now we're China? Do you feel any challenge as a voice actor, or were you able to adapt to it as a as an actor?
That's a really good question. That is a really good question. I think to answer that well, you have to remember a lot of voice actors. There's like two big categories of voice actors. There are people that get into voice acting because they love anime and they're like, I could do that, right? And they know all the tropes, right? They know like the high pitched belly girl, you know what I mean? And they're like, they know all the tropes and they can do it. But when it comes to the acting aspect of really stretching your imagination, to be something that you haven't seen in maybe a previous anime, or to do something maybe you haven't done in a previous, that really takes acting. That really takes an understanding of actual acting. So a lot of voice actors are, theater, they have their MFA in theater art, theater arts, or they have, like, I have my, yo tengo mi bachillerata en ópera.
Opera.
Yes, I have an opera degree. And so a lot of voice actors come from other backgrounds and are able then to, you can throw us a role that is maybe not typical. And because we have a background in actual, in acting, we're able to flow into a different style or different a lot easier. And a lot of it also has to do with the director. The directors, a lot of them are actors themselves. A lot of them do more than anime. A lot of them do film and TV as well, or stage. I studied with a lot of these actors in acting schools or acting classes in around my area. I went to college with some of them, and we did music together, or, something to that effect. So a lot of these guys are actual actors, aside from just like super hardcore anime fans. But like, don't get it twisted. We have a lot of like, I'm an anime fan and I just want to do anime and all I know how to do is the goofy stuff, right?
Okay.
So, yeah.
Hey, I'm jumping a little bit ahead of the script with this question, but I feel like a good moment to bring it. So our case, me and Kiara, we have no idea how's the industry and the background story for actors. So when actors go to studies with college, professional studies, do they get trained at any point to do acting for non-American, or I would say non-American? Not even voice or any type of acting, because it never crossed my mind that an actor might have to act as a non-American. You study in America, or you study in Europe.
What's interesting about that is here in the States, no. Aquí todo el mundo cree que, like, everything revolves around the States, right? Like everything.
Right.
We're Hollywood, we're New York, we're Broadway, we're whatever. So everybody adapts to us. That's why people from the UK are so good at doing accents and sounding fluent, because they understand that if they want to work on a broader scale, they need to understand things from an American perspective. Americans are only interested in understanding from an American perspective. So when you go to school, you might do a Russian play. Like, for instance, if you're a theater actor, you might do a Russian play, or you might do, Shakespeare. You might even study kabuki theater, which is the Japanese style theater. But for the most part, everything is sort of American centric.
Okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah. But myself as an opera singer, I had the reverse. I had to study things from a European perspective because most operas are Italian, French, or German.
Mm-hmm.
So I had the reverse experience where I had to learn Italian, I had to learn French, I had to learn German, sometimes Czech, I had to learn Chinese. You know what I mean? So I had to learn how to change my mindset from like this American paradigm of like America first to sorry, I'm like that left my mouth. I shouldn't have to like this Eurocentric thing. Yeah.
That's great. Talking to that kind of centralized culture, one of the latest anime now in the lineup of winter 2024, talk about
Metalic Rouge.
Thank you so much for saying
Don't
it.
worry, I got you. Metalic Rouge.
Damn, I was so straightforward to screw it. And I was good with the metallic, and I was about to say rogue, and I like.
Well, so rouge is French. That's why. Because rouge means red in French.
There we go. Metallic.
Yeah.
Damn, what's going on here? With the character of Jill Sturgeon.
Sturgeon, and that's a German name.
Whoa.
Sturgeon is German, I know.
For those
French-
who doesn't know
French
yet,
title, German names. Okay.
Yeah, and a lot of the names-
Multicultural.
and a lot of the names in this show are German.
yes, it was kind of confusing. I mean, I just saw episode 1 in dub. I don't, but heads up, I said it before. I only watched dub. I tried to watch sub. So stick with me. So this, for those who haven't seen yet, this futuristic anime series, very interesting. How would you describe it?
I freaking love the show. This show is so interesting to me. It's fun. It's a really fun show. The two main characters. There's one that's she's a Rouge is she's a robot, but she's kind of like, I guess if you've never seen it, like a robot with a soul. So she has an awareness of like the world around her in a way that's unique because she has this soul, and so she's like, that might be wrong, that might be right. But she's tasked with this mission, and the mission is to hunt this other group of robots that are breaking the rules, so to speak, right? So Rouge has a handler. Her handler is Naomi. Naomi is very much a human, and it sounds like a human, talks like a human. She's really talkative. She's really coquettish. And Rouge is the opposite of that. Rouge is very like quiet, reserved, because she's a robot. And so these two are tasked with hunting down all these other robots that are breaking the rules. But it gets complicated. I just dubbed episode 7 yesterday, so I'm a bit ahead, and I know it's gonna happen, but I don't wanna. Oh, no spoilers.
No spoils.
No, but all of that to say, it's very like. Have you ever seen Westworld?
No,
Westworld?
unfortunately, no.
It's a little Westworldy. It's a little like robots against humans and robots with souls and right and wrong, but it's also kind of really comedic and fun and great action and stuff. So I don't know. I'm excited to see where it goes. It's a good show.
I started watching episode 1 without knowing what I was getting into it, and it gave me the vibe of this video game, Detroit's Become Human. So close to it. The ethic of the robot, android, humanoid, with the human that they're technically abusing about their position that we create you.
It's like iRobot too.
Well, yeah, and so okay, I'm so glad you brought that up, Kiara. So a lot of the tenets of this show are based off of the guy who wrote iRobots. It's based off of the Asimov rules. So like if you're familiar with the Asimov rules, it's like humans or androids or robots cannot harm humans, and robots must protect humans at all costs unless the human that they're supposed to protect is going to harm another human or something like that. So there's all these rules. And so this show is basically like they take the foundation of the Asimov rules and the Asimov laws and they adapted them into the show. So yeah. And here the robots are not called robots, they're called neons. So, but replace neon with robot or robot with neon, and it's the same thing. It's very much based off of the Isaac Asimov rules on robotics, and yeah.
For that younger generation that probably have not seen iRobot, it's a must see.
Yeah.
Love that
Where
movie.
we're heading in futuristic and with technology advance and AI stuff, it's a must watch.
Got to.
Moving forward from the future, from futuristic scenario, going a little bit isekai. Let's go into the fantasy now. One of the
Isekai. Yeah, Isekai was big last year, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
It's getting crazy.
I think it comes in like bursts. It's like boom, a lot of isekai shows, and then a period of calm, and then another boom of isekai shows.
Yeah, and it was like
That's
that a couple of years ago. Like over COVID, there were all these like football shows or soccer shows.
Mm-hmm.
There's always like genre bursts. You know, some years before that, it was all about idol shows. Like there were so many idol shows. Yeah, I mean, it just goes through like bursts.
And it's keep getting crazy because when you say, within this, there's no way they can do something more crazy with isekai. Boom, you're wrong. We have reincarnated as a vending machine, as a sword, as a shield, as a what else? Things I cannot mention.
Anything.
Incarnated as a watermelon. I don't know. Like it'll be something stupid.
As a pig, it's a new one. Reincarnated as a pig, as a dog.
Yeah.
But this time, the fruit of evolution, before I knew it, my life had it made with the role of Eris Mc Clain.
Yeah.
Actually, you know what? You're like in two isekais. We got Jobless Reincarnation or Mushoku Tensei, Jobless Reincarnation, and then the Fruit of Evolution. So it's like isekai. That's the part.
Yeah, but like the first isekai was chill, right? Fruit of Evolution made sense to me, and it was, I mean, because it's not like he died and was reincarnated. He got pulled into a video game and now has to learn the rules of this world. But like the second one, Jobless Reincarnation, like he died and he came back as but
the more traditional isekai route.
Isekai, yeah. And I did a bit roll on My Life as a Vending Machine or something like this, but I didn't I think I did some bit rolls on that. I didn't do anything big, but yeah.
So comparing, now that we brought the three isekais here, comparing Fruit Evolution versus Jobless Reincarnation, how would you describe the experience of one against the other one? Because they're two different genres. Even though the comedy is still there, the vibes are way different here.
Yeah, well, they were directed by two different people. And so, you know, obviously whoever directs it, like, yes, it's based off of the anime sub. The way they translate these anime is incredible. Because they get all the Japanese and then they try to find like the English equivalent to it and then try to make the story make sense, because some things are very Japanese. Like there's a whole episode in Fruit of Evolution that is making fun of a Japanese TV show. It's like a show within a show. It's very odd. And I'd never seen it, so they had to explain that show to me. But these guys, they do a really good job of translating it and then, you know, making it make sense for an American audience. But also the directors, like their sense of humor has a lot to do with it. And so I think it was Jonathan Rigg directed Fruit of Evolution. And it was one of his first projects at Crunchyroll because he was new at the time. And we just got to know him and got to know his sense of humor. And the show is just absolutely ridiculous with Gussel and Eris and some of these characters. And like the lead character ends up getting married to a monkey. Like it's wild. Have you guys seen it?
Yeah, I've seen it.
Onyx has.
Yeah, I love it. It makes me laugh. Like I just think it's so funny, and it's so ridiculous. And to me, it's one of those anime that you watch when you don't want to watch anything heavy or hard. Like you want to like a palate cleanser or something.
Good to know.
That. You just want to laugh. You just want to like, you know, that's
lighthearted.
Lighthearted, yeah. So both of them are like that. But Fruit of Evolution to me is like, it's especially funny because it's just so ridiculous.
Now that you have me thinking, because you mentioned that it was the first time for the director.
Yeah, I think that might have been one of his first, if not his first, projects at Crunchyroll. Mm-hmm.
And I feel like we interviewed other voice actor, which mentioned that Fruit Evolution was one of their first project to an anime or main role or big role. So I feel like
Was it
this anime.
Jalissa? Jalissa Delgado?
No, the guy, the main character,
Oh, okay.
with the name of. Oh, yes. My apology. Let me get it here because I feel like I screwed up this one. But
I remember.
yeah, they're yeah, but
I'll tell
they
it.
mentioned who you mentioned, Kara?
No. Like I'm just here remembering. Like yes, I remember.
Yeah. Well, the
So
thing,
it is a project that I feel like it opened the door to many voice actors to jump into a more leading role or position, and it succeeded. It was successful for many. This voice actor, the series hit very well, was well accepted, and open. It was that gasoline for those that push to
Mhm.
voice actor and personnel in the industry to move forward and higher.
yeah. Yeah, so Jalissa Delgado was the human version of the monkey girl. I forget her name. But
Saria.
Saria. So, yeah. So the thing about anime is we know each other because we work in the same office and we pass through and but like we're never in the booth together. So I'm never actually acting against Jalissa. I'm never actually acting against like these people. I'm working against their voices. And so sometimes I know them and sometimes I don't. Like there are so many people on shows that I'm on that I'm like, I've never met them before. I have no idea who they are. And then there are people that I know. And Jalissa is one of those people. I knew her before when she had just begun acting. She'd just graduated with her degree from theater. And we bonded because she's Puerto Rican Panamanian.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, so Jalissa Delgado. And Jalissa, this is her first paper, her first role as a lead. And this one also kind of launched her career.
That's.
I'm sorry, I
Okay.
didn't change you guys. I was Mark Allen Jr. I'm sorry, I
Yeah,
didn't
I
change you
didn't
guys
change.
while you were talking.
Yeah, no worries. No worries.
Which
Yeah.
Mark Allen Jr. I had the honor to record with him, and I never seen a guy so passionate about anime. Like this guy, you can sit down with him. I will tell you the story of anime, and he knows them by directorhood, the writer, and it was,
Yeah. Well,
I
like I
wasn't
said,
good.
there are anime actors who are like, anime is my baby, and then there are anime actors that are like, I can do anime because I've also studied all this other stuff. I'm the second one. I'm like, I can do anime because I did all these other things, but I don't watch as much anime. I'll be honest, I don't watch as much anime as some people do, and a lot of it too is because I also do film and TV. So
You know what? While we're on the
Let's go.
topic, let's talk about that. That's a great segue right there. We're already transitioning. While we're on the topic, let's talk a little bit about your background. Like, how do you come into this world of opera, acting, film, TV, anime, everything?
yeah, so my parents are from Atillo, Puerto Rico. My parents were both born there. Mi papá is, like, I would say, like, straight up New Yorican because they went to New York afterwards, not long after he was born. And so he was born in New York, or raised in New York. My mom is raised in Atillo. And they met in Atillo and married and so on and so forth. And, you know, because my father joined the military, we were traveling around a lot. We ended up in Texas where my parents decided to stay because, you know, like in ese entonces it was like you could either live in New York. It was New York in the 90s, which wasn't the safest, or we can go to Puerto Rico. And my mom didn't want to go back to Puerto Rico. I think she felt like it was too small for her. She wanted to be somewhere where she had like more growth opportunity, you know, more jobs or whatever. And so they decided to stay in Texas. And so I was basically raised in Texas my whole life. Well, the other thing with that is I was raised in Texas my whole life, but we were poor. We were very, very poor. And I was always a good student, always a good singer. My parents introduced me to, you know, la cultura, but like from the perspective of an outsider, not necessarily from the perspective of somebody raised on the island, right? But I listened to all Latino music. I listened to like La India was really popular when I was growing up. Mark Anthony, you know, like all these salseros. So I grew up listening to salsa merengue. Then later my uncle came and he introduced me to reggaeton. And so like I fell in love with music first.
The uncle.
Yeah, my uncle came in. My young uncle was like, hey, listen to this record. And it was like, and you know what I mean? Like, it's like just all these reggaeton artists, and I'm like, okay, that's a style. But like, I love music. I love music. And so I went to school. I was always a singer. And then, you know, from there, my father was like, hey, you should do musicals, because he's from New York. So he's like, Broadway, go to Broadway. And so I started doing musicals. And so now I'm singing and I'm doing stage plays. And when I graduated from school, it was like, I want to go to college, but we don't have a lot of money. Where am I going to go to school? And one of the programs that was accessible to me at the time was an opera program. And I had gotten a scholarship, so my school was paid for. And I was like, all right, I guess this is what we're going to do. So I ended up doing opera, you know, learning how to do, like I said, speak Italian, French, German, learning how to sing in that style, learning all about that side of things. And I hated it.
Really?
I hated it. But I met a very important person. I met a woman named Brina Palencia. And Brina Palencia is one of the original anime voice actors at Funimation. She voiced a character in Dragon Ball Z. And she was a big anime fan. And she would say to me, I think you'd be really good at anime. I think you'd be really good at anime. And I would say to her, I don't know anything about anime. I don't watch anime. I mean, my brother watches Dragon Ball Z and Pokemon, but like, I don't really know much about those shows because I'm too busy just trying to survive this opera degree. Like, at the time, I literally stopped listening to the radio because I needed to survive. And she's like, no, just come audition. I'm directing a show. Just come audition. And I would go and I would audition for her, and eventually she cast me as a stunt singer in a very popular anime. What was it? There was one was Space Dandy. One was
Show by Rock.
No, she didn't cast me. That was Megan Shipman. But there were other animes that required their voice actors to sing, and this was pre the Idol.
Okay.
But a lot of those voice actors weren't singers and they weren't comfortable singing. So she would call me in and I would listen to their voice, their speaking voice, and then I would sing the song to match their voice.
Wow.
So I was what's called stunt singing. So I was stunt singing for these other actors who weren't comfortable singing. So if you look up some of my credits, there's some names that you might recognize from these animes, but I didn't do their speaking voice. I did their singing voice. Kind of like how Disney does that a lot, right? For their Disney princesses, they don't anymore, but they do in the past. You'd have somebody do the voice and somebody do the music. So Brina helped me circulate in that world, introduced me to a lot of people. Then when the Idol shows came in, I was auditioning for those like crazy. And Megan Shipman, she was one of the first people to cast me as a lead in an idol show, and that was Mushoku Tensei. And she essentially taught me how to do booth work from scratch, you know, as a voice actor. She taught me everything. And that was my first anime lead, was Mushoku Tensei. I played Himeko in that one. And so then at that point, now I'm circulating. Now I know how to do it. Now I know how to work. And now I'm just voice acting. I don't even know that I'm singing in too many shows. I just did a One Piece episode where I was singing, but that was it.
You have another one too with Fairy Tale?
That's the one. Fairy Tale. Yeah.
Shelia Blendi.
Yeah, Shelia Blendi. Yeah. I was the voice double for the voice double.
That was funny.
That's great to hear, because I feel like that was something that was lost in a point of anime English dub history, because early in the 90s, every song in the series used to be dubbed.
Yeah.
It used to be sung in English, in Spanish and English. And suddenly, which I still trying to figure out what happened here, industry stopped dubbing the song. And that's when all this copyright and YouTube, this platform, the globalization came into the game. And I know how to deal with copyright. But now they're finally pulling back again to the old time where we're finally dubbing singing too.
Yeah.
Which many people underestimate. Yeah, and people underestimate the importance of it, because many times a song that might be high or cool or sweet. It's telling a big story and something is
Yes.
bigger than the episode.
And that was a big deal in Mashima and Show by Rock, was to get all of the girls to dub and to be able to sing. And that was, and by the way, Megan Shipman's an incredible singer. She translated all of the songs to English and then sang them first, and then we would copy her. And she's just an incredible artist overall and director, and she did a really good job translating the songs from the J to English and kind of adapting the story so that then we could put it in the show. So she did a really good job with that.
Right, I at some point I'm here like, oh, I wanna interview her too, just because she's the voice of Anya, and that's the character that's near and dear to my heart.
Yeah, she's incredible. Like, and she's such a nice person. She's just such. I mean, honestly, everyone that I've worked with, anime is one of those, and like I've worked in film and TV, and you have your divas. You really do. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. You just do.
Well, that's everywhere though.
But not in anime. I think most of the anime that I've worked on, most of the people that I've met are all really lovely people. They're all really, some of them are a little weird, let's be real. But like they're not, I mean, they're nice, you know, and they're kind. Mm-hmm. Like they're not fake, and a lot of these directors are just really, really, really great people. So yeah, I mean, if I could help you out and get Megan on the show, I will. But
heck yeah.
Yeah. Lovely.
Let's talk about film and TV. Let's talk about the big one. Let's Early Peddler. Before I do that,
give me a chance here, because something that I want to share with Giovanni. In the past, in another podcast, they were interviewing this young child from Puerto Rico. She's not anime related at all. Didi Romero, which she's come from the Puerto Rico. She's the daughter of one of the.
She's in Broadway.
Yeah, she does Broadway. And one time she was.
I feel like I should know these people and like have a connection to them, and I'm like,
No, it's okay. I've lived in the island and everything, and I don't know anything. So
the deal is, she studied in New York. Her background story, her family from music, but she wanted to do Broadway stuff. And when she went up in one podcast, she was saying that people underestimate how difficult and the skill of an actor who do singing.
mm-hmm.
Because when these actors are singing, they're not like, when they compare artists, let's say this famous Ricky Martin, Taylor Swift, where you choose one, they don't train to do acting and singing and crying at the same time. So do you have to face those challenges too, when you're like singing and acting and crying and showing that feeling too? As an opera singer, sorry.
As an opera singer, opera, well, okay, so, that's a loaded question. So opera is very much about the music first and the acting second. Have you ever heard the term singer first, actor second, dancer third? Or like when people talk about being a triple threat, they talk about like what their primary is, what the secondary is, and what the third is. Opera is very much singer first. And if you're an okay actor, then acting second. And they train you for that, specifically for the technique of singing. Then there are people that are dancers first, right? They did ballet, and then they branched out to theater, and then learned how to sing to make themselves triple threat. So I think everybody's got the thing, like a thing that they're best at, and then they have to work to bring up the other two skills. And then it kind of looks like they're just really good at all three across the board. But a lot of times you start with a little talent, sure, but they're all skills you have to develop and you have to work at. And for me, I was a singer first, actor second. And when I decided to quit opera, I became an actor first, singer second.
Oh.
Does that make sense? And so when you get to like the Justin Timberlakes and the Taylor Swifts and the Ryan Goslings, a lot of these guys trained in all three categories. But there's obviously one that's taking off better than the others because that's their primary. That's the thing that they're good at. Even Ryan Gosling is a fantastic dancer. But for him, it's acting first, and then maybe singing and dancing. Justin Timberlake, we all know him as a singer dancer, but then, you know, it turned out he's a really great actor too. So it's just like, I think for a lot of us to be like a true triple threat, you have to like really work on all three skills. And I think that's what makes bringing it back to anime. I think that's what makes it. So that's why when you have these two types of actors, you've got the anime only actor, and then you've got people that do a little bit of everything actor. I think it fills out the world. We want the anime only actors. Of course we do. Like, these are the people that live and breathe anime, and they freaking love it. And they're the lifeblood, and they want it. You know what I mean? But then the rest of us kind of come in and we help fill out the world a little bit better, because we have more point of view, if that makes sense. Does that answer the question?
How it should be, honestly.
Yeah, definitely. Kiara, now take it for
So let's talk about film and TV, because you are like I said in the intro, the first voice actress who we have interviewed that has been like Hollywood big in that sense, and we're talking about Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, also the holiday special where you play Orloni Peddler, and also in the Suicide Squad where you play Isabella. How is that transition between, hey, I'm here, like, this is my real face, my real body, my real voice, here I am, you see everything of me, versus in anime or anything voice anything that's like behind camera, like all you hear is me?
Yeah, well, it's interesting. A lot of people that watch me in film and TV don't know I do anime, but everybody who do anime knows I do film and TV, because they look me up. I feel like because people that watch anime and are fans of anime are always very curious to see who the person behind the voice is, and so that, you know, you look people up. You like, you know, to look people up. But a lot of people that watch film and TV, they just take that's it, that's the person, and they don't really look at what else you do. So a lot of people, like, I've worked with James Gunn now on 3 different occasions, and I mean, we talk. We're not friends. I mean, he's my boss, don't get it twisted. but we do talk sometimes, and I don't even think he knows I do anime. You know what I mean? And he has on his Warner Brothers lineup, he has animated series coming up, and I'm like,
yes.
Doesn't it make freaking sense, James, to hire the anime voice actor to do some of these animated series? Like, I'm already doing this, but he didn't know. We're gonna bring it up. We're gonna bring it up the next time we talk. But so a lot of people that do the film and TV don't know that I do anime. But the film and TV thing, yeah. Like, so a lot of the reason why I don't spend a lot of time watching anime, for the same reason I don't spend a lot of time watching film and television, because literally I'm only watching things for homework. Like, if I'm about to audition for something, then I watch it, because I don't have time. I don't have time to watch everything under the sun and watch, you know what I mean? And so sometimes I know exactly what it is that I'm doing because I've watched a few episodes, and sometimes I'm like, I've never seen the show in my life, but this audition is due in 5 hours, so let's go. I do what I can. I'm a working actor. But yeah, with the Suicide Squad was the first time I worked with James Gunn. And because I'm a nerd, and because I like comic books and Marvel and all of this stuff, when the audition came in, it came in as Untitled James Gunn Project. But I knew, because I keep track, that James Gunn was directing Suicide Squad, right? Like the second version of Suicide Squad. And I knew that the start dates were the fall, and I knew that they were shooting it in Atlanta. And so when this audition came in, it said Untitled James Gunn Project. It had a fall start date. It had an Atlanta shoot location. And I was like, oh my God, this is Suicide Squad. I already know this is Suicide Squad. And so I nailed the style, right? Because I know it's not serious, it's not funny, it's a little bit of a combo of the two. And I nailed the style. I got a call back, and then I finally booked the job, and it was the hardest thing I'd ever done, and we can get into that later. But it was the hardest shoot I'd ever been on. It was the biggest set I've ever been on. There were so many moving parts. They ended up actually cutting my scenes from that, because they ended up cutting a lot of there's a character named Thinker, played by Peter Capaldi, and they cut out his entire storyline for time, because if his storyline had made it in, it would have been an extra 20 minutes to the movie.
Wow.
And my scenes were with him. So they ended up cutting my scenes, but it's okay. I mean, there were some bits that still made it in. And my friends that watched the movie, they were like, I saw you, and they did a close-up on your face, and they made you seem really important, but they didn't explain why. And I was like, yeah, I had these other scenes, they got cut, da-da-da-da. But then over COVID, when James was doing Guardians, I didn't audition. He just called me to go. And I went and did Guardians, and I didn't know anything about the third movie or what was going to happen. Or I would show up to set when they told me to show up to set, and they would put me in hair and makeup, and they would mic me, and I'd go, oh, I have lines today? Because I literally, like James tells you, Marvel is so strict with their security. They literally do not give you a script until you walk on set.
Oh, wow.
I don't doubt that.
Yeah.
I do not doubt that at all.
Yeah. So I never got a full script. Oh, hello. I never got a full script. My tablet. It's a tablet. Oh no.
I was like, what is that?
It was a tablet.
It's a tablet.
You
Sometimes
scared me
if I
for
do
a
this-
second.
If I do this, balloons pop around. I don't know. It's my tablet. But anyways, going back. But yeah, I didn't know anything about what I was doing. I was on set for almost 2 months and never knew ever what I was doing. When I watched the movie, it was new to me. I was like, oh, that's why we spent 10 days on that shot. Or that's why we spent 3 days on that shot. Because I didn't know what was happening. I had no idea. Same with the Christmas special. We did the Christmas special with James Gunn. But yeah, I do other film and TV. That's always been my first love. And then anime, when COVID came around, I really leaned into doing the anime because it was something I could do remotely from the safety of my home. Didn't require me to be around people. And luckily it kind of stuck. So here I am.
That's epic. That segment they call those 20 minutes anime will be called a OVA episode where they was playing only about those 20 minutes about you, and that segment that they never show. But going back with your experience with recording with DC and Marvel, people love for the sake of fun to fight about who's better, blah blah blah. DC versus Marvel, that will never end, that fight, especially never. But as an actor who was behind in front of the camera, do you feel that difference between DC and Marvel according to each companies?
Well, so both projects were James Gunn projects, right?
Yeah.
So both projects, the DC was James and then the Marvel was James. And so and James is so great. He when he likes people, even behind the scenes people, it's the same people. So I worked with a lot of the same people on Guardians that I worked with on Suicide Squad. Costumers, makeup artists, stunt people were a lot of the same people. And so it kind of feels like family whenever I work on one of his sets. So when you're in the bubble, it doesn't feel different. You know what I mean? When you're in the James Gunn bubble, it doesn't feel different. Now, that being said, when we're talking about Papa Warner Brothers and Papa Disney, the way they do things is very different. And what they will allow and the rules, the rules for Suicide Squad were strict. The rules for Guardians was stricter. So yeah, so when you're in the bubble, it's great. It feels like a James Gunn project. But yeah, beyond that, like outside of the bubble, when we're talking about the paperwork and the rules and all of that stuff, it's different.
I really don't doubt that, honestly, because something as simple as, obviously can never compare it to the level that you are, but something as simple as Onyx and I, we met during the Disney College program, and we saw how strict Disney is.
So
even when at least for me, so I worked in Kilimanjaro Safaris, and at the time they were trying to transition that into like what we see today, the newer one. So they brought a lot of like the big head honcho Imagineers, and they were talking to us a lot about these things, and you could see in the way they would talk, express, and say certain things that they're very, very strict about what they present to the people. And then when you put it in film, which is their main thing, that's how they started, it's like, oh, it makes sense that they're even stricter. And I really do not doubt that for a single second.
Yeah, like Marvel had their own security team, and they they followed us everywhere. I mean, even to the hotel. They would go to the hotel bar and watch us. And I mean, they were very strict. Like you don't talk about the show. You don't talk about what you did that day in public. Even if, you know, me and some of the people from the wardrobe department or the makeup department decided to go to the hotel bar just to have some drinks after work, we do not talk about work, right? And a lot of these guys are undercover, right? You don't know that that's Marvel security, but sometimes you do because you recognize them or whatever. But like they follow you, and they don't want you to talk about work outside of work at all, because also the fans are crazy. Like the fans know that like at the time we were shooting Guardians, they had just started shooting Echo, so there was a lot of Marvel happening in the same place at the same time. And if you're from that town, or if you're not from that town in Atlanta, but you know that that's where they shoot everything and they keep people in these particular hotels or whatever, and you're a crazy enough fan, you know, there would be people that show up to just kind of eavesdrop. And also, you never know, like maybe the bartender's gonna text something to a friend, or maybe they're so strict. They were so strict. No cell phones on set, no photography on set, no recording anything on set. I mean, even Zoe got in trouble for recording in her trailer because her script was in front of her and it wasn't blocked out or blurred out or whatever. Karen Gillan got in trouble for recording on set, and she ended up posting it later, but they made her delete a bunch of stuff on her phone. You know what I mean? So they're like very strict, not just with us, but also with the stars.
Makes sense. How hectic would you describe that on-set life? Because we don't really ever kind of hear about these things. We kind of get glimpses of it. Like, how would you describe an average day on set, like from the moment you wake up to the moment you go to sleep?
So let me put it against the world of anime, just so you can have an idea. So the world of anime, you get cast in a show. Great, I'm cast. They send you an email. Hey, can you be at the studio Monday at 10 a.m. from 10 to noon to record? Great. You don't get a script. You don't get any background. You get nothing. You show up. It's the director's job to tell you where you are in the story and to basically direct a performance out of you, right? And then you go home. You do your 2 hours or your 4 hours. Or maybe you hit another session for another couple of hours. And it's really corporate. It feels very corporate, right? Like you work from 9 to 5, or maybe if you have an after work session, you go from like 5 to 9 or something like that. Because there's the day crew and the night crew. But like it's very organized. It's very like you show up, you do your job, you get out. It's so corporate. And you get and that's it. That's all there is to it. A set is chaos. A set is you got to get up for hair and makeup at 3 a.m. You got to report for breakfast or to your trailer at 4 a.m. We're going to start shooting at like 7 a.m. We're going to keep shooting for 12, 13, 14 hours. Then you're going to go home. And then based on when we wrap meaning everybody goes home, right? So based on when we wrap, there are rules that say you cannot call anybody in more than 9 hours. So you have like a forced 9 hours. And productions are really tight. They run really tight. So as soon as those 9 hours are up, everybody's back up, everybody's to set. We do the same thing the next day. And it's and it gets the schedule gets crazy. Sometimes you're working all night for 3 days, and then the next day you have to work all day for 3 days. Sometimes you're on, then you're off, then you're on, then you're off. Like it's chaos. So when you're working on a movie set, you really have to devote all of your attention to that. You can't do anything else. Whereas when I'm working on anime, I do my 2 hours, I go home, I'm like, oh, I've got an audition for this other project, or oh, I've got to work on this script, or you know what I mean? And I can do other things. But when you're working on a movie set, like it's literal chaos. And then I honestly don't remember, like when I was working on pretty much every project, there are the days that I'm on set and it feels like you go to Disneyland. It feels like you go to like a theme park, right? Because everything's like, ooh, amazing. And then you go home and it's like you don't remember what you did that day because there was so much stuff.
Overwhelming.
Yeah, it's just super overwhelming. So it's very different. Like Anime work is super chill. It's super calm. Like you go in, you get it done. It's nice. It's breath of fresh air. Movie making is absolute chaos.
I'm going to start transitioning to the wrap up of this episode, but I want to transition with this question. So you had experience for TV industry, or TV commercial TV series like NCIS. You have the experience of big films like Marvel, DC, and you had the experience for anime voice acting. For those people who are like thinking to jumping into the voice acting industry or the industry of films, which one would you recommend for those who are starting now, like in college? Which is the best pathway? You'll say, hey, you're going to grow up in this one, you're going to be stuck in this one, it will be never next to impossible to get in. Which one would you recommend to look into where they can grow more?
Yeah, it's a really good question, and people ask me that all the time because I do everything. Like I do commercials, I do voiceover, I do film and television, I've done audiobooks, I've done literally everything. I've sung, I've done jingles, I've done everything. I've also been doing this for over 10 years now. And so I get this question a lot, like, what road do you recommend? What path is the easier path? To me, there's no right answer to that. To me, the right answer is go with what you're strongest at first. So if you are, for instance, a big anime fan and you bleed and breathe anime, and you know that you can do that and you can do that well, maybe pursue voice work first while you're training in film and TV, so that then you can bring up that skill, right? Or if you're really good at film and TV first, like you did a theater degree and you did a couple student films and you feel really confident and comfortable in front of the camera, maybe you go into film and TV first or commercials first. And then you look for the voiceover opportunities, so then you can branch into the voiceover stuff. So for me, it's the best advice is go with what you're strongest at first so you can get your foot in the door. Once your feet are in the door, then you can start branching out into these other categories and other areas. And the opportunities will come if you are practicing and training and devoting time to developing these skills. The opportunities will come, but if nobody knows you, they don't know to look for you. So you've got to make a name for yourself first in whatever category like you're strongest in, and then the other opportunities will come, if that makes sense. And sometimes people will find like the one thing is enough. Like, all I want to do is anime. That's it. That's all I want to do forever. I'm happy doing this. I want to direct. I want to voice act. I want to adapt. That's all I want to do. And sometimes for some people, it's like, that's not enough for me. I also want to be on camera. Like, everybody's different and what they want is different. So I just think go with what is the strongest pull and then explore, everything else.
And I'm going to force a little bit this question. You mentioned 3 specific locations: Texas, Atlanta, and I don't know, you have experience in California.
New York and LA, yeah.
New York, LA. How do you, any advice to deal with geolocation in this path or career?
That's another great question. It's another big question, right? Because as you know, like I explained, I'm Puerto Rican, but raised in Texas, and I still live in Texas, but I do work in these other markets. I work in Atlanta, I've worked in LA, I've worked in New Orleans, obviously Texas, Oklahoma. Like, I've worked regionally in so many different markets, and it is hard, but it's a matter of like, you can go to New York and be a small fish in a big pond, but have like these incredible opportunities, but you're also competing against all of these other people who are more or less talented than you. Or like myself, you can come from a smaller pond and be a big fish and then start to expand and jump into other ponds, right? And so I think for me, that felt like the more safe, stable route was like, let me develop my career here first. And once I'm a name here and people know me and I have relationships here, let me jump into these other ponds to start developing relationships there. And eventually make my way out to New York and LA as an actor. So that's kind of where I'm at now. Like I said, I've been doing this for 10 years. I've done a little bit of everything because my market is small. So now I have all this experience, right? Where when I go to LA and I show people my resume, they're like, oh my God, you've done so many things. And I'm like, well, yeah, because I developed them in these smaller markets. So it's easier for me to sell myself as this trained actor because I trained in a smaller market. The other side of that is, if you're not from New York or LA, there's this thing called regional discrimination, where they're like, oh, you didn't train in New York, you didn't train in LA, you can't be that good of an actor. And you know, sometimes it's true. Sometimes people like in these smaller markets aren't getting the best training because they don't know. But I also make it a point to go to LA and train for months at a time, and then I come home. So the regional discrimination is real, but for me, I've found that starting in a smaller market and developing relationships has gotten me further faster than, say, my friends who moved to LA off the go. You know, so I have friends that have moved to New York. My girlfriend that moved to New York, it took her 10 years before she got on Broadway, but now she's on Broadway. You know, whereas I had been working the whole time. It's both are hard. Pick your heart.
Right. Last one. I promise this is the last one. What is the right mindset for those people entering this industry, that people, or even entering and surviving? Which will be the mindset that you recommend people to keep always on to succeed in any of the three pathways?
Don't do this if you don't absolutely love it. And don't do this to get famous. You won't get famous. Unless you're Brad Pitt and 19 years old, you're not going to be famous. I'm not going to be famous. I'm okay with that. But I work. You know what I mean? And maybe one day when I'm 40 or 50, I'll be like Harrison Ford and they'll cast me as somebody's mommy and like, I'll, you know, make my mark. But the likelihood of me being like a household name, and I've already been doing this for 10 years, it's not, you know, but I do this because I love it. I do this because I've thought about all the other things that I could be doing. And I realized that if I were to do any of those things, I would die. Like, I would die. I would be like a 500-pound diabetic who hated my life. And I would slowly kill myself because I hate my life. So this is the only thing I can imagine myself doing. And that's why I do this. And I don't do it to be famous. So it's if you love it, do it. But don't do it to be famous. You're probably not going to be famous.
I'm looking forward for that moment in the future where we can go back and say, hey, Giovannie 10 years ago said, let's clip this. And she said this, and now where she is now. So looking forward to that future.
We'll see. I mean, God willing, but I'm realistic. I'm a Puerto Rican girl from Dallas, Texas. You know, the odds. And I'm not getting any younger, and I might be cute, but I'm not like, you know, Angelina Jolie beautiful. So it's just, you know, you gotta know who you are. You gotta be strong in yourself. I'm not going to be the type of person who gets all this Botox and plastic surgery and stuff to look like freaking Kim Kardashian. That's not me. I'm going to age. So it's like, you know, like I know who I am. I'm very like secure in myself and my personality. And I think that that's going to keep me safe in this industry.
Hey, but let's keep in mind, the only predictable thing in life, that life is unpredictable.
And we're all going to die.
That's the only predictable thing. So with a very happy ending, thank you so much, Giovannie. For those who haven't followed you yet, which social media can they follow you?
I'm on Instagram at Giovannie Cruz. I do X at Giovannie C Actor, but I don't love it. If you really want to interact with me, it's Instagram, Facebook at Giovannie Cruz.
Awesome. And like always, guys, you have any problem finding Giovannie links, go down to the description of this video. Expand the description, go to find the links to Giovannie's website and social media. And for all, we humbly ask you for subscribe, like, and share on social media, especially Facebook, which we're fighting the algorithm of it. Subscribe, like, and share the video, and follow us in the social media, YouTube. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Twitch. Go to Google, write El Koki Otaku. Find us in probably one of the next conventions, a panelist nearby your place. And Giovannie, thank you so much.
Thank you. Muchas gracias por invitarme, por la invitación. And like, I can't wait to get to interact with you guys some more. This has been really fun.
Sí, por favor. Gracias.
Ahora puedo hablar español, ¿ok?
Ahora sí, pero en Spanish. Nos veremos en el próximo episodio. Sayonara.
Bye.